Good morning. Welcome back to reading today. Today we are reading our second chapter out of Top Secret. So let's review really quickly what happened in chapter 1. So in chapter 1, Alan, he's at school with his horrible teacher, Miss Green. So you can be glad that she's not your teacher. He wants to do something about human photosynthesis. Remember, photosynthesis is what plants use to eat. It's a process that we'll learn more about if you haven't learned it in third grade. Plants use the sunlight to convert that energy into food. So he is thinking, do people need to eat food or could we use sunlight? His teacher did not like his idea, and she said, you, Alan Brewster, can do a project on lipstick. So let's see how the rest of his day goes. Chapter 2 is called Alan. I was mad. Miss Green was not being fair. I did have a project. She just didn't like it. As I rode home on the bus, I made up my mind that I was not, under any circumstances, going to do my project on lipstick. I would solve the mystery of photosynthesis, and I would adapt it to people, just like I said I would. I closed my eyes and visualized the science fair. I could see the silver trophy and all the kids at school gathered around my project. I could see Miss Green apologizing to me for ever having doubted my ability. And there was Peggy Applegate and Barry Kramer. Barry Kramer. I could see him. I could see him in the rearview mirror over Ivan's head. Ivan's our bus driver, and I was sitting right behind him. I kept my eyes on the rearview mirror as Barry slowly made his way up the aisle toward me. He was crouched real low, trying to stay out of sight. And then I saw it in his hand. He had a thing of lipstick. I wasn't sure what he was planning to do, but whatever it was, I knew I wouldn't like it. I had to think of something. And fast. And then I got a terrific idea. The only problem was that my timing would have to be perfect. Continuing to watch Barry out of the corner of my eye, I inched my way forward to the edge of my seat. He was almost to me now. I could see him fumbling with the top of the lipstick. I could see his hand reaching out toward my neck. Now, I stood up, stuck my finger in my mouth, then ran my wet finger along the back of Ivan's neck and sat back down. The whole thing took no more than 2 seconds. Hey, growled Ivan, looking into the rearview mirror and right into the face of Barry Kramer, who was holding the lipstick. Barry got thrown off the bus. He would have a long, long walk home. Everyone laughed and whistled at him. Just wait, Barry shouted at me, shaking his fist. I'm not afraid of you, I shouted back, feeling extremely brave as the doors closed in Barry's face and the bus took off. I knew I wouldn't stand a chance against Barry Kramer. He was at least 1 year older and a lot bigger than I was. He was held back last year because Miss Green hadn't liked his science project. The bus let me out about a half a block from my house. It's just me, Lamb Chop, I yelled to our dog as I walked up the driveway to the front door. Lamb Chop had started barking. She can't see too well. I put some glasses on her with a rubber band once, but they didn't help. Our cat, Waffle, was waiting for me on the front porch with his arms and legs outstretched. I knelt down and petted his stomach, careful to pull my hand away as he started to bite. Cat's weird. I walked around to the backyard, looking for my grandfather. I had to tell him about Miss Green. Hi, Grandpop, I called out when I saw him. Grandpop was on his knees, examining some strawberry plants. He was wearing tennis shoes with no socks and a straw hat that covered up most of his white hair. Would you look at this? He said in a soft voice, holding the tiny leaf of a strawberry plant in his hand. See that little critter? Grandpop has the shakes, so I held his hand to stop the leaf from moving and looked real hard. All I could see was a tiny little dot on the leaf. You mean that dot? That's a mite, said Grandpop. Darn parasite if there ever was one. Then he looked at me with his watery blue eyes. I saw a photograph of a flea once, magnified many times. And you know what was on its neck? No, I answered. What? A mite. Grandpop rubbed his chin. And then I got to thinking, what was on the neck of that darn mite? Was there anything? Well, I don't know. But if there was, do you know what I'd be wondering about next? What was on the neck of the thing that was on the neck of the mite? You got it, said Grandpop, smiling. I never thought about that before, I told him. Always think about things, Alan. Grandpop pointed a skinny finger at me. 'Cause you know what you are when you stop thinking, don't you? What? You're dead. My mother opened the back door and called to me through the screen. Alan, time to set the table. Your father will be home any minute. Okay, Mom, coming, I yelled back. Talk to you later, Grandpop. I walked in the back door, careful not to let the screen door bang. The house smelled of fried chicken. Sure beats liver, I'll tell you. I put my books at the foot of the stairs, washed my hands in the downstairs bathroom, then went into the kitchen. How was school, honey? My mom asked as she knelt down and kissed me, her long brown hair brushing against my face. Mom always calls me honey or sweetie, unless she's mad at me. Fine, I answered, getting the silverware out of the drawer. Except for Miss Green's science class. Okay, what happened? Nothing really, I said. It's just that I want to do one science project and Miss Green wants me to do another. Well, you better do as your teacher says, said my mom. But Mom, I protested, Miss Green wants me to do my project on lipstick. And what's wrong with that? Well, I don't want to do my project on lipstick, I said. That's what's wrong with it. I heard a car pull into the driveway. Dad was home. Good. At least he'd understand. It's me, I heard my dad say as Lamb Chop started barking. Then there were footsteps coming up the walkway. They stopped. Dad must have been rubbing Waffle's stomach. Ouch! Came a cry. The door swung open and my dad walked in, carrying his briefcase. He had his thumb in his mouth. Darn cat bit me. The dog's barking. What a welcome home party those two make. My dad gave my mom a kiss, and I mean a kiss. I couldn't hold my breath that long, no matter how much I liked somebody. How was your day? My mom asked, as she always asked. The usual, my dad answered, as he always answered. My dad always waited until we sat down for dinner to tell us what his day was really like. Dad gave me a big hug. How was school? He asked. The usual, I answered. Well, that's not what I heard, said my mother, giving my father the eye. Well, tell me about it, said my father in his serious voice. He didn't like anything going wrong at school. I told him the whole story, all about human photosynthesis, and the science fair, and the silver trophy, and Miss Green, and her stupid lipstick project. I'm sorry to say this, said my father, when I'd finished, but your teacher's right. She's what? Now hear me out, began my father, which was his usual beginning when he had something to tell me that he knew I didn't want to hear. 9-year-old boys just don't go around making discoveries, especially like the mystery of human photosynthesis. You're not talking about an invention, like developing a new machine. You're talking about a discovery, which is unlocking a secret of nature. Very few major discoveries have been made since the beginning of time, and the men who made them are considered the most important men in history. So none of them were 9 years old. Then I'll be the first. Son, listen to me. My dad took hold of both my shoulders. Do your project on lipstick as Miss Green wants you to. Do something you know you can do. Hogwash, said a voice. We all turned to see Grandpop standing at the doorway. Let the boy find out for himself what he can and cannot do. But what Alan is talking about is impossible, insisted my father. It's not impossible, I said. I don't care what anybody says. I'm going to do it. I'm going to solve the mystery of human photosynthesis. All right, and that is it for today. Our next chapter is called Research. So you can think maybe what Alan might be doing. But he is kind of following the scientific method, if you think about it. Did he ask a question and make observations about plants? And now if he starts doing research, he might be able to form a hypothesis. All right. Thank you for reading with me today, Top Secret. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a great day.